Coming soon on Listen Up, is Islam a religion of peace?
Because Islam means submission to Almighty God.
We look at the evidence and practices of a faith followed by billions the world over. Listen Up exists to engage people with the Christian faith. Join us on Facebook and check out our website at listenuptv.com. You'll find video clips, blogs, and information to take you deeper on life's biggest questions. That's listenuptv.com. Welcome back. Listen Up is exploring the heated controversy over proposed mosque at Ground Zero. Stare into the gaping hole where the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center once stood, where more than 2,600 people died at the hands of Islamic terrorists 9 years ago, and it's easy to wonder, is it possible to build a peaceful way forward on the painful memories that exist there? There's much discrepancy over what many 9/11 victims refer to as hallowed ground. Proponents argue their proposed Islamic community center here in the old Burlington Coat Factory will improve this neighborhood. Others say it's too close to the 9/11 graveyard.
I don't agree that it's a couple of blocks away. That's a narrative that someone made up. Who defines Ground Zero? I want to know who defines it. Because as far as I'm concerned, 7 World Trade Center was part of Ground Zero. Fitterman Hall is a part of Ground Zero. The building was damaged so badly it had to be torn down. And the Burlington Coat Factory is a part of Ground Zero. It was damaged by the landing gear of the plane that went into the South Tower.
Tim has employed the American Center for Law and Justice to look for a loophole in the system that extends beyond the argument for religious freedom.
We filed a Article 78 petition against the Landmarks Preservation Commission, basically alleging that they did not follow their own precedent, their own administrative precedent in not landmarking this building.
Mayor Bloomberg announced the city's decision to allow this old building to come down and the Islamic Community Center to replace it.
The Landmarks Preservation Commission of New York is notorious for landmarking properties. They've landmarked over 25,000 properties in their 35-year history, including a building a block away from this proposed project that looks exactly like this building. This building has been on the landmarks calendar. It was on the landmarks calendar since 1989. There was a grassroots movement to landmark this property. And then all of a sudden, in the dead of summer, it was rushed to the front of the docket without much public debate.
But with or without landmark designation, there is nothing in the law that would prevent the owners from opening a mosque within the existing building. The simple fact is, this building is private property, and the owners have a right to use the building as a house of worship. And the government has no right whatsoever to deny that right.
You're a constitutional rights law firm. Your specialty is protecting freedom of religion, but you don't think this is a freedom of religion issue for Muslims?
No, it's not a freedom of religion issue. Nobody is suggesting that we ban mosques or that we ban the practice of Islam, even right at or near Ground Zero. This is an issue of human discretion. This is an issue of exercising your rights in good taste. And part of the essence of the First Amendment in this country is the fact that we as the population, as the populace, we can express our moral views when we think that people are not exercising their rights in good taste.
1 block north of Ground Zero, 1 block south of the proposed mosque, here's a reminder that religious freedom battles have always been part of America's history. St. Peter's Church here at one time was prohibited from being constructed. There was a time when Catholic priests were arrested and Catholics were not allowed to practice their faith in New York City. That was the 1700s. But today, it's why a coalition of more than 50 community groups have united to see the mosque debate set on a different course.
We came together because we felt that there is a false controversy that's being used by irresponsible politicians to try and push the election season in a direction that's really not productive.
How should we understand the mosque project?
Well, first of all, it's not a mosque project. I think what we have to do is understand what we're really talking about. We're talking about a community center that would be built by the Muslim community in New York City that would be a facility open to all people from whatever faith or without any faith affiliation.
Developers for the Islamic Center say they're hoping to break ground in the next 3 to 5 years. And while the world waits, details as to the true purpose of the center will continue to be up for debate.
America was founded on principles of religious freedom. And we can debate whether or not this is or is not an appropriate location. People can differ in that regard, but the truth of the matter is that it's up to the property owners, the Muslim community, to decide what to do with this property.
If construction workers like Andy have their way, the only thing he'll be putting up at the property site is roadblocks.
The courts have failed, all our elected officials have failed, our civic leaders, everyone we count on has failed us. So this was a desperate attempt to gather up a movement.
A movement that he says is now tens of thousands strong, including supporters who pledge not to work or contribute any supplies to the construction of the Islamic Center at its current proposed location.
Believe me, I have no doubts a resourceful person will get this thing built regardless of the millions of signatures I do get. I have no doubt about that. But can you imagine the environment? You're standing right in the middle of Uniontown, USA. If they go ahead with this construction project, I can't imagine the animus that is going to exist out here on the street.
Aren't you afraid of the violence this is starting to stir up, the anger?
I'm more afraid of if it gets built, our status on the world stage, what will happen, how awful we will look, the message it's going to send to our enemies. That's what I'm worried about.
What message will it send?
That we're weak, spineless. People are going to step all over us. Here we are. We're still looking at a mass grave, and you're going to build a giant victory mosque right in its shadow?
But Tim believes it will never come to that.
It will never happen.
Why?
Because the families and New Yorkers and Americans are steadfast against it. They could go somewhere else and be more sensitive to the families and to the survivors. But they insist on this location.
When we return, a dialogue at ground zero with both Muslim and Christian fears out in the open.
The Bible says perfect love casts out all fear.
That's next.